Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm not really going to be talking about football in the sense of what we normally talk about, footballers, what's going on in the team. I'm going to be talking about something else, the Y word. Now, I know that you see Matt Lucas in the thumbnail, and I will get to that, but right now there's just something I want to focus on, and it's this headline. This newspaper that I have right in front of me. There's this whole thing going on in the news at the moment about the use of the Y word at Tottenham. Now, I'm just here to put my opinion across as a Jewish Tottenham fan myself. But let's talk about a few things first, and firstly the origin of it. So the origin of the Y word. The Y word, also known as Yid as we say it, is literally the meaning of Jew. Jew in Yiddish. Yiddish is a language of a combination of Hebrew, German and a few other European languages that European Jews have spoken and throughout the 18th and 19th century, as well as time before that. And that's what it just basically is. It means Jew, and der Yid, the Jew in Yiddish. That's all it is to it. Let's fast forward it a little bit. So after there was like a lot of anti-Semitism in the rise in Europe, and of course as well the Holocaust that took place, and Jews started moving out of a place which was basically surrounded with anti-Semitism. They moved to countries like America, England, Israel, so many other countries. In fact, that's where my ancestry comes from originally. My ancestry originally comes from Poland, in the city of Lublin and also Warsaw. My family moved out of here in the mid-1900s to escape anti-Semitism, to seek a better life here in England. And they moved to East London, Whitechapel, different areas around London. And then very soon they started following English football and they started supporting Tottenham. And that's literally a very similar story to a lot of other Jewish fans' ancestries. They moved out of Europe, settled here, and they started supporting Tottenham Hotspur and other clubs as well, like Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham. I'm just saying it out there that it's not exclusive to be Jewish and Tottenham. I get that completely. Okay, so for some reason I actually can't find the actual video clip where I was going to address the bit where it said offensive on the screenshot. But basically, the whole theme of this video is that it's about context. So context is a word of how you use it. Now, I've been actually quite stupid, but I can't find the actual article that backs up my point. But I do remember the name of the professor who came up with it. Her name is Helen Beer. She is a professor in Yiddish studies, I believe. And she goes on to basically say stuff about how you use a word of the matter of its context. So the way that you chant the word, basically, it all depends on the red line of how offensive it is. If you're chanting it for pride, then the context would suggest that it's not offensive. If you're chanting it as a way to offend someone or to put someone down for being Jewish, then clearly that is going to be offensive, and that goes past a red line. This newspaper that I have right in front of me, basically, I mean, it's not hard to tell, but it's anti-Y word, and they are saying basically that we're in denial. Here it is right in front, you're in denial. Now, there's just one thing I've got to say first. This is an article that threw out, and I've read this article now 3 times. 3 boring times, may I add. The one thing that just strikes me the most is they say this and that about how bad it is to say that word. Yet, what really strikes me is, not once, but twice, you've said the actual word in your headline. I know, it's a cheap shot, but what message are you really trying to prove here if you're just, in a way, sort of trivialising it a little bit? I don't know. I mean, you've got it here in big writing, you even got it here written there. So like I said earlier, this word is a word of origin. It literally means Jew in Yiddish. Der Yid, the Jew. Yiddish. That's literally what it is. There's nothing offensive about the word alone. It's literally the description of someone's religion, and that's what people call themselves. In fact, if people actually did their research, you would actually understand there is this newspaper called Der Yid, or I think it's called, I probably got the name wrong, but I've got the screenshot here right in front of you. It's a newspaper amongst a Hasidic community based in Brooklyn, I believe, and that's the title of their newspaper. It's been around in the 50s and it's still being published towards this very day, towards this very moment as I speak. So, are you going to start knocking on that door and start telling them to ban that newspaper as well because it carries such an offensive name? Tell me, is that what you would do? You see, the main theme of this video is about context. Context is what drives that word. There's the definition of its origin, and then there's the context. The word Yid was a word originally said in Yiddish. Now, as I said earlier, when Tottenham fans were moving in to London and other areas around the country, they were subjected to anti-Semitism because that's just how it's been as a Jew. As a Jew, you've always had anti-Semitism following you. And then when it was starting to adapt to knowledge that a lot of Jewish people were supporting Tottenham, people started calling Tottenham all offensive anti-Jewish obscenities that you can think of. You know, gas chamber remarks, Auschwitz, stuff like that. Literally the most offensive things you can think of. And that is how it all started, this whole Yid Army trend thing. Because the thing that happened was that there was literally Jewish people getting sick and tired, as well as non-Jewish Tottenham fans, getting sick and tired of the constant abuse that they were getting given to from opposition fans. And very soon they adapted the word as an identity, as a culture. And as a Jew, I have to say, that is a very beautiful thing to my eyes. It's, you know, it's one of the most beautiful things, really. Because personally for me, I don't want to cry in situations. I don't want to feel victimised. There is something that I want to do. There's something I want to do to fight back against racism, to fight back against anti-Semitism, to fight back against racial prejudice, you name it. And to come up with that, to put a positive spin on that, I think, in my opinion, is a genius move. And to be honest, in a world where there has been a long-stand history of thousands of years of anti-Semitism towards Jewish people, I've never felt so safe to be a Jew. I've never felt so proud to be a Jew. And that's just a bonus of being a Tottenham fan and a Jew. It works as an amazing and wonderful combination. And that's just something I love to see personally. A non-Jewish Spurs fan who probably has not the faintest clue of Judaism, not the faintest clue about religion. Not saying they're all like that, but I'm sure there's some people that are like that. And to be chanting that word is honestly something that I can be so thankful and happy to see. I'd rather be chanting a word in defence against racial discrimination rather than no word to chant against racial discrimination and have it constantly attacked to us. Now there's one bit in this newspaper where, if I was to just read it out very quickly, I've highlighted it. The continued use of the Y words by fans, whatever their intentions, works against efforts to eradicate anti-Jewish racism from football. Like I said before, it's a matter of context. It depends how you chant it. If you were to chant it as a way to put someone down for being Jewish and to bring Holocaust references into it, of course that is anti-Jewish discrimination. Chanting it is a way of pride of historically being a club associated with a Jewish fan base, and remaining like that is not part of an agenda of anti-Jewish discrimination. So what I'm struggling to put my mind across is why these two things are being put in the same page. And the bit that triggers me as well, and this isn't even the worst part, is that they're saying here, somewhere down the line, that the community is against it. Written by a Jewish journalist, I'm assuming, from a Jewish newspaper, and you're saying that the community is against it. I mean, personally for me, I'm an agnostic Jew. I've not set foot in a synagogue for almost, I don't know, how many years. But the one thing that I still remember is the rabbi, I'm not going to mention his name because I actually haven't spoken to him in a while and I don't know if he'd want his name put out here. But this rabbi of my synagogue, because how it worked in synagogues is that when you hit like to the middle of a prayer service and then there's like a weekly story to talk about to the community, he would always refer to the Jews in his story as Yid. And that is a respected religious rabbi who is saying that word. It's an orthodox religious rabbi saying that word. Are you going to now say that he's part of the problem too? Despite he is a respected pillar of the community when it comes to Judaism, to a Jewish society, to a Jewish community. How can you say that the community are against it when you clearly haven't spoken to the community? Granted that if they're not Tottenham fans, maybe they might show a stance against it, and that's absolutely fine because Jewish non-Tottenham fans are allowed to have an opinion on it. But don't try and say that it's Tottenham fans being part of the problem and the whole Jewish community being against it, because that isn't the case. That is lies. Now here's the part that has really triggered me the most. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it in this stupid, pathetic article? Right, here it is. Jewish Tottenham fans are broadly to blame for its continued use. Are you taking the piss? We're to blame for its continued use. What have I said constantly in this video of how the origin of this word came about? It came about because we did not start this word. And it's not a matter of a game of who did what or who started what, but it's a matter of how it came across. It came across because it was a response to anti-Semitism from rival clubs and nobody doing anything about it. But all of a sudden, when we take a stance against it by chanting it as our identity, as our pride, as our culture, and now all of a sudden people want to get involved, governments want to get involved. Why is it every time when I see something on the news, like on Twitter for example, and West Ham fans singing "We'll be singing round Tottenham with our willies hanging out"?
But there are some things that no one argues about.
Fucking Jew, singing I got Foskin Avenue. Fucking Jew, singing I got Foskin. I got Foskin. I got Foskin Avenue. Fucking Jew.
I see that on my timeline and it fades away very quickly until it happens again. But then when Tottenham fans chant it, the news is constantly chucked at them as the forefront of the agenda. That's what I don't get. Why is it that you are trying to deflect the issue by trying to kill positivity because of haters? That is what I don't understand. That is something that I'm clearly failing to grasp. Why are you putting us, Tottenham fans, Jewish or not Jewish, as the forefront problem of it? Why don't you focus on the ones that are mainly to blame? The ones who are chanting those disgusting things. I've been to West Ham before. Not all West Ham fans are like that, obviously. But I've seen big nose gestures, you know, with the hand and nose like that. I've heard hissing noises from gas chamber references. I've heard, even in Tottenham, when there's other teams away saying Hitler's coming to get you. I was at Southampton away when there was a Southampton fan making hissing noises. I've heard it everywhere. Yet, you don't target those people in the news. You target us. You target us like we are the most disgusting problem about it. How dare you say we are broadly to blame for this? How dare you? How dare you not even get your history right and understand that we never chanted the word first. We never chanted anything even anti-Semitic. We chanted a word which slaps racism around the face by putting a positive spin to it. And yet you want to target us the most in this form of journalism, whatever you call it. I find it very interesting how when Tottenham fans were being subjected to so much anti-Semitism, not much was being done, all of a sudden we take a positive spin on it and make it part of a club identity of pride, nothing but beautiful pride, and then all of a sudden people want to get involved and tell us what we can and can't chant. I mean, that newspaper has clearly said that we're constantly to blame for it, we're the forefront of it and we're the main perpetrators of this issue, when you've got to realise, and I think you should take a logical approach to this as well, it is if you had to put two different scenarios, a group of Tottenham fans, Jewish and not Jewish, chanting that they are Jewish with pride, and then another set of fans who are saying that we're on our way to Auschwitz and that Hitler's coming to get us. And you want to put both things on the same level. Come on now, use your logic, use your initiative, use your common sense and understand which one is worse and which one should be worth more clamping down on. I'm not saying ignore the other approach to it, but I'm saying give attention to what the offence is being given rather than the disagreements of the use of a word. You know, I remember as well when I went to White Hart Lane back in 2013, I think, and we had to be careful what we were chanting because there was policemen about and we could be arrested and prosecuted. Some Tottenham fans even got prosecuted for it in court. But legally, they were found not guilty because they were clearly not chanting it with aggression, they were not chanting it with vile intent, they were chanting it with pride. No offence given to the Jewish community at all. And clearly this newspaper is making it out to be that if Tottenham fans stop chanting it, then anti-Semitism will be eradicated from football. No, the whole point is that racism is never going to be eradicated from football because it won't be eradicated from society. Society, unfortunately, is always going to be racist, and that is the harsh realities of what we have to basically put up with. But sometimes, you know, putting positive spins in it can actually educate you and actually turn you to not be a racist, to not make you an anti-Semite. And it might, in fact, make you open up to studying more about this religion and actually have a less ignorant approach towards Jewish people. That's one of the benefits and positives I see about that word. Don't forget, like I've said a few times in this video, that this all emerged when opposition fans were chanting it as a smear at Tottenham for being a Jewish fan base. Well, if that gets rid of it, then how do you think that's going to get rid of it for the offences that are given from the opposition fans? Are you going to start going to them and then saying you can't say these words, this, that, the other? I mean, what would you rather? A fan base that is constantly having anti-Semitism chucked to them and has nothing said, or something to fire back? Instead, all I'm seeing is this passive aggression and this criticism chucked at us, saying that we're part of the problem. We're not. We're not part of the problem. We're countering the problem. We might be fixed into the problem, but we're not part of the problem. And by fixed into the problem, I mean it is that the fact that we're Jewish, and we're going to always get that in life, football and outside of football, when it comes to anti-Semitism. I mean, it just seems like everyone's got a bone to pick for Tottenham fans when it comes to chanting that word. That's something I don't get. Yeah, we chant it, and then other teams also say it at us, but that isn't the answer to why that's happening. The reason why that's happening is because of centuries of anti-Semitism, and unfortunately racism does walk into football. It's not just to Jewish people, it's to black people like Raheem Sterling, who's had racism from those Chelsea fans, like Danny Welbeck, who was subjected to racism also from those Chelsea fans. Now, the last thing I want to address in this video is, well, what I mentioned in the introduction and what's in my thumbnail and what's in the title of this video. Matt Lucas. Why is he in this video? What's he got to do with anything? Well, let me just explain. Matt Lucas is a comedian famous for Little Britain and other sketches. He's also a Jewish Arsenal fan who holds opinion about the whole Y word thing. He's against it, and he voices his opinion a lot on Twitter. You can see these tweets here for yourself on what he has to say about it. But there was just one thing that really struck me the most. Now, this is not me saying that Matt Lucas hasn't got the right to have that opinion or he's wrong, because it is subjective at the end of the day. Like, it is a divide amongst Jewish and Arsenal Tottenham fans. Not all Jewish Tottenham fans, obviously, not all Jewish Arsenal fans, obviously. Right, let me get to the point. There's just things that I can't stand personally. It's hypocrisy and double standards, and when I see it, I will call it out. But you see, when I'm talking about hypocrisy and double standards, you will understand my point. He's on his high horse saying pretty much what this article that I've been slating off has been saying, that Jewish people of Jewish Tottenham fans are the huge cause and problem of it, and this, that, the other. But that wasn't even the main thing that really annoyed me. It was him being a hypocrite and getting on his high horse and talking about discrimination. Now, why is that making him a hypocrite? Well, let me explain. So this was his tweet, alright? Now the reason why it's hypocrisy and double standards, because, well, let's just rewind, shall we? Let's rewind 10 years ago or so. I don't even know when it was, to be honest, but either way, it's just still not acceptable, this. This is what I attached to the tweet. You're taking the piss out of Asian people. You've even done the eyes and everything. I mean, look at it, it's there. It's there. And you're getting on your high horse talking about discrimination when you, Matt Lucas, you have been doing it yourself. You have been discriminating other people. But what is it? It's okay to discriminate or take the piss out of other people, but when someone says something anti-Semitic, then that's not okay. Are you trying to prioritise anti-Semitism over all other forms of discrimination? Because if you are, my friend, that is just one of the most shallowest things to come across. That is just shallow, to prioritise one discrimination over another. But yeah, it's okay to take the mick out of Asian people. Oh, and by the way, he's not just done that to Asian people, he's also taken the mick out of a black woman as well. Painting himself black. Cultural appropriation. Wow, Matt Lucas. Real good, mate. I'm sure your comedy's doing well for that. And yeah, of course I know that there's shows like Family Guy and South Park that take the piss out of everyone, but at least they're taking the piss out of everyone, and we can have light humour about it. But Matt, what you're doing is beyond the red line. You're culturally appropriating yourself as a black woman, talking like her, and one of my friends who's Jamaican saw that video. She couldn't even watch the rest of the video, and that's how much offence you give, and yet you're okay with sitting on your high horse and giving it the large about anti-Semitism, which of course you're entitled to do as a Jew, but what you are failing to realise is that you've done it yourself to other people, and you are being a hypocrite about it. And yes, I know you've done a tweet about it, but one tweet doesn't cut it. And the worst thing of all is your reply. Your reply. Look at this reply. He says to me, nice to know where I stand with anti-Semitism in 2019. Are you dumb? How is that even anti-Semitic, pointing out the hypocritical flaws that I'm exposing you with? And you didn't even respond to it, which just goes to show you live in your own agenda. As soon as someone chucks a little bit of information at you that hurts you, let's face it, that hurts you, you're too scared to even reply, and you just don't reply. But you can reply to my tweet when I call you out for your hypocrisy. And I got so many mentions of me getting called an anti-Semite. I mean, fair play, Matt Lucas. You literally grew from Despicable Me, and your 1 million followers on Twitter are your little minions who would just agree to anything that you say. Just basically sheep. Basically sheep. Just how dare you even chuck the anti-Semitism card at me? What are you trying to do? To shut me up? Is this what it has come to now in society, where people shut others up by calling them a racist? Because in my opinion, that is just as bad as racism. Yes, I know I'm going a little bit off topic from the title of the video, but I need to say this. Doing that is one of the lowest things you can do on the same level as a racist, because if people were to keep on doing that, we'd lose the meaning of racism. We wouldn't know what racism is, and very soon the definition would be lost. Because again, it's a matter of context, and you can't turn these words into context, especially when it's an issue as serious as racism. And that's what you did. You basically shut me up by calling me an anti-Semite over something completely irrelevant. There was nothing that I said that was anti-Semitic. You're calling me an anti-Semite for just calling you out for your hypocritical flaws and your racist flaws, may I add. And I'm sorry, like I said, one tweet of apologising doesn't cut it. And just start to read other people's perspectives instead of alienating it, just like what this newspaper has done, and try and understand my perspective. Now, I'm going to be doing a podcast very soon on this whole thing, and it's going to be a very balanced podcast. It's not going to be an egotistical debate. It's going to be a peaceful discussion, yeah, with some heated disagreements. It happens, especially with a subject like that. But the point is, we respect each other's opinions, unlike Matt Lucas, who clearly doesn't. And also, just to end this video, and I know I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people saying this, but all I'm going to say is that, like I say, it's a matter of perspective. And if you are Jewish, and a bonus of you being Jewish was having your club having a Jewish identity, a lot of you just wouldn't be saying these things what this newspaper said. That's all I'm going to say for now.